Hi, welcome to A Dose of Hope. You know, today with me is Dr. Craig Dohse, who just happens to be my husband, and I'm Dr. Meridith Dohse, and we want to thank you for tuning in to watch our show. We promise to be entertaining. At least one of us will. You'll be okay.
There you go. All right, welcome. It's good to be with you today. We've been talking about, for some shows now, about emotions that build us up and make us stronger individuals and people, because you got to be strong in this world. You know, there's plenty of things that tear us apart, tear us down, and we've got to many times have within us the wherewithal to meet those things head on and know that we're going to come out on the other end. In fact, that's my first thought today, is to talk about confidence.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you get to be confident?
I was going to say, how do you get to be confident, Dr. Dohse?
I know. How do you? You've got to have some successes, you know. When I was working with youngsters, sometimes they would say, we got to try to build their self-esteem. But the thing that builds their self-esteem is not so much being told that they're good or something, because in themselves they still have a feeling that they're not living up to some expectation. Maybe their grades aren't as high as they should be. Maybe their parents are disappointed in them in some way. Maybe their behavior has gotten them into some trouble and now they don't quite know how to deal with that. And so you've got to have something, though, that begins to be a hard fact that you are successful in something. And so you have to create some of that. And when we all stop and think about it, if we really take inventory of ourselves, we can find at least one thing that we're pretty good at.
You think so?
I think so.
You know, it's always interesting because kids either prefer math or they prefer reading. It's never both.
Sometimes neither.
I have rarely seen a kid who says, I love both of them. It's like, oh, I love math, I hate reading, or I hate reading, but I love math. And that's always interesting to me because in that particular class that they love, they excel. Oh, they're just great. And then when they don't like, it's like, I don't like, you know. So in their mind, they're already thinking, I'm not good at this. So they have no confidence to be successful in that area.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in schools, there are only two types of things that are really measured.
Yeah.
And those things are just what you said, reading or math. Now, reading applies to history and to science. You have to be able to do some of that. There's some math and science. But there's basically those two areas that we test people in. So if you're not good in one of those or both of those, you're really behind the 8-ball, so to speak. You're really, you know, it's going to be a struggle for you. But if someone would tell you or teach all of us, you know, about the fact that there are other types of intelligence that far exceed those two kinds. They're good, but, you know, think about it. What's the second most investment that most people will make in their lifetime? Their automobile, their car. You've got to have someone that knows how to fix that thing. And in the day of all these computers and all this kind of stuff, we need people that have that ability. So if they have that type of an intelligence, there was a psychologist, doctor of psychiatry at Harvard, who came up years ago with this idea of multiple intelligences. But unfortunately, in our school systems, we only measure basically those two areas, but there's many others. There's, you know, you've got music, you've got the arts, you have mechanical skills, you have skills that are necessary for building houses, you know, that are construction kinds of skills. Why not emphasize those as well? And Lord, help us if we have a problem with our plumbing at home, if we don't have someone that has some skills with that. Those are valuable resources. And if we teach and tell people that those are valuable and continually do that, that builds their confidence.
I'm glad you said that because a lot of times people feel like if you don't go to college and you don't have a college degree, then you're nothing. Yeah. You know, that you're like subservient to everybody else. Yeah. And everybody's just not cut out for college. No. I can't tell you how many classes I took in college that I knew was a total waste of my time because I would never use that information. But when you think about it, the mechanics and the air conditioner people, and even your beautician or the people that
Yes.
does your lashes, or
Yes.
they make a lot more money. They really do. I mean, think about what teachers make and then what a mechanic can make.
Yes.
Especially if they're not quite honest. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but those are skills that everybody's going to need somebody that knows how to do it. Building a house. It's like you need to have those skills. It was so wonderful when we were growing up and they had workshop. But now they don't offer things like that anymore. It's like they're pushing you to pass the test.
It's not enough.
And I don't know how we got all the way on education, because that's another show all by itself. But, everything's about the test and passing the test. And then you have people who can't count change.
Yes. So it's a real task to instill confidence in people when we have a society that says only this one area really marks success. And we know that's not true.
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to tell it as a lie, that's a lie. So we need to take a little break. We'll be back in just a few minutes right here on A Dose of Hope. We're back. A Dose of Hope. We're having conversations that are meant to build a spirit, to build up our confidence. In fact, we were talking somewhat about confidence in our last segment. And I don't know that we really dealt with that as much as we could or should, but it's a tough task to build confidence. Think of all the insecurities that you have had and I had when we were in teenagers. And, we would look in the mirror and I don't know if you had this experience, but I would. A pimple, oh my, one little blemish. Most people didn't even know it was there, but that was the thing that stood out. And so then I would say to myself, no girl would ever look at me. Look at this big spot that I've got on my face. And, it's hard to build confidence. Well, and you've got to go through it's the truth.
No, when you're talking about the big pimple, all I can think of, how'd you get past your nose to get to the pimple?
You're bad.
I know.
This woman is mean.
It was just so funny. I'm like, really? How did you see the pimple past your nose? I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of kids because of the bullying, because of everybody don't look like the little size 0 models and stuff that, people eat the strangest thing to try to make themselves skinny and to look better, bleaching their skin to look better. And it's like, wow. But I think it has to come from the inside. There's nothing wrong with wanting to look the best that you can look for you. But when somebody else is saying, oh, well, you need to lose 10 pounds, or you need to do your hair, or you need to buy this wig or do that or wear makeup or this, it's like, you can't tell me that, because at the end of the day, I'm responsible for me. This is me. I don't tell you how you should look, so please don't do that to me and say, you need to do this and you need to do that. And that is bullying.
Yeah.
So with kids, it is very difficult to be a child these days and to have confidence about yourself. How many teachers have you known that sit and tell a kid, you're a C+ student, you're never going to amount to anything? Right. And that just knocks their confidence down. And even famous people, when they come out and they say, I had a teacher that told me that I would never make it, that I would never be successful. And I'm not just bashing teachers because, that's my profession too. But I do know that you have to look at each kid and find something about them and realize, what, they're all special. Let me find something in this kid to strike that match, to get them motivated, to build their confidence up to where they want to be successful. And that's what we miss the ball at.
Yeah. But individuals have difficulty, and yet later in life, I can't tell you how many people I've encountered, and probably been there myself, that I'm just not sure of myself. And to tell yourself that you're good enough or that you can do something, it's hard to do. Sometimes in counseling, I would use a technique. I'd send them home to my clients home to do some homework. And I said, what you need to do is that every day you've got to stand in front of your mirror and tell yourself 10 times, I like you. And that's hard to do if you're feeling unsure. Look yourself in your own eyes and say, I like you. There's the old saying that God don't make junk, and He doesn't. So He doesn't make mistakes either. So He made us as we are, and He intends for us to be confident in that and embrace that. But sometimes you've got to use your own ability, your own stuff to get yourself built up. You have to encourage yourself.
Yeah, I think it's so cute because I had seen on Facebook where this father was telling his daughter, she had a whole routine when she looked in the mirror and she said, "You're a beautiful little girl. I'm beautiful.
Uh-huh.
And the whole thing to where her confidence was built up every time because by her confessing that for years, then nobody could tell her she was ugly. Nobody could tell her she was worthless.
Right.
She knew she was
That's
special.
right.
And, it's the same thing when you talk about God. If you confess, I'm a child of the Most High God. And we know God doesn't make junk. And we know God doesn't make mistakes, just like you said. But you have to believe it. You have to confess it with your mouth.
Right.
Because the Bible tells us you can have what you say.
Right.
And I know some people don't really like to talk about the Bible because a lot of people, their faith is kind of dwindling away because of things that are going on. But what they forget is that God gave us free will.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make anybody do anything. All you can do is try to reach them and to help them and to build their confidence up to where they want to be better. They want to accomplish things. The worst thing in the world is a person with no hope.
Boy, that's right.
I mean, you could just if you have no hope, you have no desire to do anything.
Right.
You're just there and you're just existing and you're waiting to die.
Yes. Yes. There's another thing that we should maybe think about, often don't, but that's cheerfulness. People that are cheerful just generally feel better, and certainly are received by others much more positively. You draw people to you if you're cheerful, if you can laugh, and you can laugh at yourself, but you can laugh at what's around you, and that has a great quality to build yourself internally as well.
Yes, yes. I was going to say, whoa, what's going on around here? Even my confidence is fine. But, sometimes it takes a while to get to where you need to be. And it's not always about education. It's not about how much money you have in the bank. It's about valuing yourself and to understand that you are worth something.
I got a definition that I jotted down in the research. Said, cheerfulness, sometimes they say, well, I don't really feel cheerful. So you say, if I say I'm cheerful or try to be, it's a lie. I'm actually lying to myself. But this one person said, and I agree with them, he says, no, it doesn't mean that you're not facing reality if you're cheerful no matter what. What it means is you're intelligent. You're intelligent. You see what the potential is. You see what is possible. If you live in cheerfulness, you can meet virtually any challenge. It makes you stronger. It makes you stronger. We live in a world that's full of crap, it's one problem after another after another.
Why, Dr.
So it is hard to stay cheerful. It is almost impossible to watch the news and be cheerful when it's all over, that's for sure.
Cheerfulness does not sell commercials. That's why they have to show you doom and gloom to make you think things are worse.
I guess.
Everybody knows the media is biased. We all know that.
Yeah.
But some people won't even watch the news because it is so depressing.
Yeah.
So it's like, and with social media, we get to find out what's going on all over the world, and all of it's not good.
Right.
But we never hear about the good stuff. I like feel-good stories. I like watching the movies that, come out fine with nobody getting raped or killed or anything. It's time for another break. We'll be back in just a minute. You're watching A Dose of Hope.
We're back. We want to talk about another area that's usually not talked about very much at all, but it's a major contributor to feeling good about yourself. And I'm going to entitle this section, Contribution. What have you contributed? What have I contributed to life and to the world in which I live? And in doing so, when I purposely do so, it adds meaning to my life. We encountered a young lady, I'm going to say young lady, she was retired, but she had a business that she was running kind of out of her backyard and out of her garage.
Oh, okay.
And remember, her husband said, why you have all this stuff? Their garage was full of things that she was refurbishing and renewing and so forth, furniture type of things. And he said, just get rid of it all. And she had a great comment. She says, no. She says, I like doing it, number one. She says, but also it gives me a meaning.
And a
It
purpose.
gives me a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
She was contributing. She was contributing first to herself and also to other people around with the things
But it
she
also
made.
keeps her busy, because how many retired people have we met that have absolutely nothing to do? And all they do is just exist and watch TV, take their medication, go to bed, eat, you know,
Talk about their
and
sickness.
just, yeah, yes. You know, you're on the phone for hours talking about what's wrong with them, what's
Yeah.
ailing them, you know, what's going on. So it's like, I think everybody needs something to do, even if it's volunteering at, you know, one of the retirement homes or at the school, you know, reading to little kids or something. It's like there's nowhere in the Bible that says we retire and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who retired in the Bible? I didn't even see that word in there. I looked.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know,
I looked.
yeah, you work up until the end, and
Yeah.
then that's it. You know,
Yeah.
I would think that'd be the greatest way to go. Is that you're working right up until the end. You're doing something that's meaningful to you, but also to people around you.
But then again, how much wisdom can you gain from somebody who's been through so much?
That's true.
Who have lived decades. So they can give you wisdom. If the Bible tells us there's nothing new under the sun, think about how much you can learn from somebody that's 70 or 80 years old. You know, they could teach you things.
Yeah.
We were watching that thing about Dr. Freeman and how much knowledge he has, and he's a wonderful individual.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, we need people like that. They could teach the young people how hard it was just to be able to go to school.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to learn to read. And we don't appreciate that anymore.
Right.
You know, that's a good confidence builder.
Yes.
Knowing how to read, knowing how to count money, knowing how to tell time.
Yes.
A lot of kids don't know these things.
You know, it's you know, we kind of put our old people away, you know, maybe into a home, or not everybody does that, but there is some of that that goes on. But to be able to sit and to talk with them, you know, sometimes you'll hear young people particularly say, oh, I hear the same old stories from my grandpa,
Yeah.
something like that. Okay, but listen to those stories and ask more questions. He'll tell you some new ones.
Or teach them a game or how to do a puzzle. I mean, you could spend time with people that are older and not make them feel bad or feeble or anything. But in reference to, you know, sometimes you do have to put people in assisted living, because if they have an ailment that's too much and they need, you know, professional help, you don't want to try to have them at home if they, you know, have to have their linens changed or bed sores or whatever. Everybody can't do it.
True.
And so rather than kill them, you want to get them professional help. So it just depends on the individual, what's going on in their lives. You know, they may work 2 jobs and they can't take care of mom or dad or grandpa or whatever.
That's true.
So I mean, it's just a different situation. It's kind of touchy.
All right.
Yeah.
Right.
I won't put you away if you're nice to me.
You heard it here, folks.
Witnesses, right?
Witnesses.
She said she's not putting me away. Yeah, don't bank on it.
Well, let's say about one more thing, just for a few moments. I think that people that believe in God, now I tell you what, I don't just think this. There's research done that people that believe in God and are people of faith live healthier lives. They generally live longer and certainly have a better outlook on life and existence. And I would encourage anyone to take some time with God. And you may be someone that says, well, I don't believe in God and I've got all these reasons. I have doubts about him. My comment always is, doubt your doubts. What made your doubts correct? There's nothing that have you been correct in everything else in life? Of course not. So why would you take something as important as that and say that my thoughts on this are the absolute truth? Take something that is a truth from outside of yourself. And like I said, there is research for all that, but it doesn't get in the mainstream very much because it's not the popular thing.
It's
you know?
positive.
You can, if you have a secular press, you can suppress those kinds of stories and so forth.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
And we all know that in society these days that it's the negativity that sells, you know, shows. And
I don't know why. you know, after a while and such a diet of that stuff, it just tears you up.
Because we're turning into a heartless generation.
Yeah.
You know, we're excited when people beat up other people, or, you know, like, get them, get them, get them,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. And instead of saying, whatever happened to love your neighbor?
Yeah.
You know, we had talked about that in a previous show where we should love one another.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of those things that people really need to back up and say, am I proud of what I did today?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you say look in the mirror, it's like when you look in the mirror, when you're brushing your teeth at night, hopefully you are. But when you're looking in the mirror and you're thinking about all the things that you've done that day, are you proud of what you've done?
Mm-hmm.
Can you say, if I don't wake up on this side, you know, tomorrow morning, can I stand before the Lord, whether you believe in him or not? The Bible says every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess.
Mm-hmm.
So when you wake up and you're actually standing there before him, what are you going to say?
Right.
Do you have anything that's worthy of the life that he presented you with or that he gave you? Did you seek him out to be the best person that you could be?
Right. That's a good
That's
thoughts.
a confidence builder. When
Yeah.
you say, I may have dropped the ball today, but tomorrow I'm going to do better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you just build yourself up and you just keep going. It's like exercising. You're not going to be good at it the first day, but if you continue to do it over and over and over again, then you get stronger. You get
Right.
better at what you're doing. That's any kind of profession.
Yeah. If you put yourself into the thought processes of God and seek him out, what you find is that many times there's a spiral effect for you, and you come up to a higher level with all of that kind of stuff about God and who he is and what he's capable of and what he actually is doing. And you do feel like your life is lifted. There's a lot of weights lifted off of you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've got to close for today, my dear. We're glad to be with you once again. We'll look forward to seeing you the next time when we come together on A Dose of Hope.
Grab your cup for A Dose of Hope with The Dohses, airing on iconic television KVVV 15.10.
It's what we've decided to do. We're going to be committed to one another, and committed to a relationship or someone is, it actually, though, enhances your very being.
But I do know that you have to look at each kid and find something about them and realize, you know what, they're all special. Let me find something in this kid to you know, strike that match, to get them motivated, to build their confidence up to where they want to be successful. And that's what we missed the ball at.
Every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. and every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. So join us with your cup and get ready to fill up with a dose of hope.